Well, first of all, how blessed I am to actually have PowerPoint. Last year, the PowerPoint in my own home turf didn't work for me, so I'm quite happy to actually see some slides that I can talk to. So I just want to welcome everybody to this event. Is a good for the cities, all of the cities, to talk about things that are going on, hopefully give people an update, and hopefully kind of mingle and connect with people. So Brook and Park, we've identified new goals this year. We call it the BP 2025. With full apologies to Jay, I think the most exciting part is not so much the goals, but the process. These goals reflect what our community thinks. It's not a council goal, although we adopt them. It was actually generated by lots of impact, lots of connections with the community, giving people a chance to talk about what they want. So these goals are not staff goals. These are not council goals. These are what the community told us in many different outreach scenarios, many meetings, and so this is what they would like us as a council and the staff and the community to really focus on. Economic development, Brook and Park, always moving forward. Things slow now the winter, but things are going to heat up fast. Right now we're looking at, in the last 10 years, jobs have increased about 17%. That is over the county average of about 7%. So in mayor math, and I think the other mayors would agree, that is a 3 times increase. So we're quite happy to keep pushing. Mayor math, we round up, right, to the nearest cool number. So, but things continue to move forward, and we continue to look at development, not just in the north part, but all parts. And we are starting to shift our focus into redevelopment, taking a look at things that we can do elsewhere. I don't know if you've heard about this thing called the light rail. I know our staff has. So we're blessed this year to bring new news about that, is that we formed a coalition of cities along the Blue Line, including Brook and Park, Brook and Center, not on the line, but very much connected to it. Crystal, New Hope, Robbinsdale, and Golden Valley, and Minneapolis have all been coming together, talking to different entities, whether it's at county, the state, or federal level, about why this line is important. We've also been very clear that we are becoming impatient, and that we, as we watch Southwest continue to have challenges, we don't believe those challenges should continue to impact our line, which has been pretty drama-free, which maybe that's our problem. Given the politics in the Capitol, maybe a little drama would help us get our stuff done. But we continue to move forward. The line continues to meet its goals, meet its budget, meet its deadlines. And so we and other cities on the Blue Line, you will hear more from us. We present it to the county on Tuesday. We'll continue to move that forward at all levels. The city of Brook and Park will be inviting all the governor candidates for the state. I'll say the word viable, just to kind of give us an out on some of them, who have a chance to be our governor, and make sure they go up to 610, see what development can be when transit and development and intentions come together. Business development, Takeda Pharmaceutical is starting to ramp up. They are starting to deliver on those promises. That site has always been a promise. And I think right now they are actually moving that into action. They're bringing more lines on. They are bringing people involved. They're starting to invest. A couple new hotels also right by the line. So people want to talk about, why does light rail help a city? It drives development, drives housing, it drives opportunity. These hotels are going to be half a block from the 93rd stop. And they're there for the stop because they're going to be at 610 and 93rd. Purbex is now Tesla. That was awesome because I was in DC the day they announced it. Every federal elected official knew about it. I'm not sure of their business model, but it sure sounds cool to have Tesla here because they are kind of a thought leader in futuristic thinking. They invested in a company, and we're hopeful that they're going to double their investment here, because we know when we start to get companies showing up, other companies will come. Interchange. Anybody from Champlin here? Yeah, we're going to put more work on 169. That should make you really happy, I'm sure. Next year, you probably won't be so happy. No, we've been working quite closely, City of Champlin, on traffic to get the 101st interchange working. We've started to get funding, started to rack up some good grants, whether it's from the state, county. And so we're starting to get that momentum going that'll help us put that, that interchange into. That interchange is important. If you look at the map, we are not done with just Target up at that corner. We are hopeful to get 2 to 3 more headquarter type level companies. We want to drive jobs, and as I always say, butts and chairs. We're not interested in warehouses. We're actually interested in companies that employ people and take the maximum use. And we know that 101st has to get done in order for more business development, because at a certain point, people got to get to those jobs. Restaurants. Who wants restaurants? Everybody wants restaurants, right? So there's a couple different things going on in Brooklyn Park. We're starting to get the national chains that are following the fact that 610 is a parking lot on some days. And so, which is kind of heartening to a mayor because you're going to see lots of traffic. So that means lots of people driving by. So we're starting to get the national chains, but we're also, because of our diversity, we're starting to get those restaurants that reflect our diversity. And we're starting to get press on those. Where in the last few months, we've had Fat Chance, Lemongrass, who's always kind of been a metro-wide favorite, and also now Empty Noodles are starting to get press for being good, locally owned, family, ethnic restaurants that deliver something different. People like myself who have traveled for business understand what it's like to travel and not have to go to a chain. Although that's nice, sometimes it's nice to go with something local. So we're starting to get some local flavors to reflect our diversity, and we're pretty excited about that. And of course, if you want a beer, we've got a brewery coming, so we join the club like everyone else in that. So we're looking forward to that opening, and that should bring some excitement as well. Housing, I think one of the things that we've done, a couple things this year, is we've got more apartments. We've stuck with our plan on how apartments are going to be developed. Also, this last apartment approval, it just happened earlier this week. For the first time, we actually included parking requirements into that, where we actually, in our use permit, actually required them to honor their current commitment to a parking spot per unit. Oftentimes, we've seen our older apartments, they tend to start to charge people for the right to park at a place, and that drives parking into our neighbors. It also doesn't help the people who live there. So you will see this over and over again from Brooklyn Park whenever we start to reach deals with apartment owners, whether it's new apartments or renovations. We're going to require that they start to address this. So we've got a couple new things, including a senior complex that is really geared toward people who need high level of care, lots of staff, so elderly people who may be suffering from dementia, memory loss, health issues where they need constant care. We'll have about 101 unit going in there, just south of Prairie Care. I would like to back up, and one thing I did want to mention, I think Denise and Nalima are here. I waited till you took bites before I said it. I didn't want to, if they could wave their hand, please. I know you can do that much. So one of the things we did this summer is also adopt a housing plan. And it kind of stated the city's goals for not just housing at all one end or the other of the economic spectrum, but also starting to identify how can we preserve and increase the number of affordable houses so that we know that if we take a new development, if we start to put affordable housing within it. So we adopted a policy with the work of ACER, which is Nalima and Denise, and some other community organizations to do outreach and start to identify where we could find a nice happy medium where we're getting stuff done, and we're also putting, the pressure on the development people. Brooklink, anybody who's not connected with Brooklink, I sure hope you will connect with this. This year, it's still a partnership between Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park, and we have started to really look at how can we impact youth, and so we're really partnering with businesses. I want to thank the Chamber and other businesses here that we hopefully are providing a way for kids who don't have a mentor to get their way into jobs, and we continue to move that forward. The program is hosted in the Brooklyn Park City Hall, but it is still the impact wide that it was before. Branding, I never got so many emails about a sign in my life. And the whys, so if you haven't been by our City Hall sign, do it at night, because that's when it really is impactful. It does meet our goals of being unexpected, and so we think it's pretty cool. And yes, for the record, it did need to be replaced. We just didn't throw money at it for the heck of it. Public safety, something cool. The red line, population. The blue line, crime. We have reached a part where we are getting close, not quite close enough for mayor math to call it 50%, but getting close, where we can say we've cut crime in half, despite adding 25,000 more people. My favorite part for all us white Minnesotans is that, guess what? We are twice as diverse. So anybody who ever says in a small conversation or a large conversation that diversity causes crime is factually incorrect. And I love that stat, because it absolutely is not true. Anybody who ever says that to you, you can send them to this slide. We can prove that it does not matter. What matters is when you get police involved with kids' lives. I'm approaching the end of my thing, so I'm going to blow through the police stuff a little bit. But one of the things we get asked is, how are we doing it? We're doing it in a variety of ways. We are being geographically focused in our policing. We've been involved with National League of Cities, Cities United, my brother's keeper. It was my honor to be at the White House 3 times last year to talk about what the city's doing, our commitment to helping youth of young boys of color start to overcome those challenges. Because a young African male who's facing challenges when they're 18, it didn't start when they're at 18. It started when they're 1, it started when they're 2 and 3. So we're trying to focus on different aspects during a person's life that we can start to make an impact. Starting to give our police involved with lots of conversations about immigration. How does it affect people in our community? Talking about how community policing works. How can our police officers become more diverse? It is not a popular profession right now for white or non-white to become a police officer. Across the board, every school that teaches law enforcement has seen enrollment go down. And so what we're trying to do is convince young people of all races that policing is important. And so we're doing that by getting out there and doing outreach. And we're trying to get in people's lives. And we're starting to hire people who do cadets and different things. I talked about our crime going down because the police, well, Zanewood Recreation is a rec and park program. And what they do there is they work with kids. And they make kids, I was speaking to Webelo's troop earlier this week, and I asked them what happens when kids have nothing to do. And you know what they said? They get in trouble. And these are 8-year-olds, and they understood very clearly what adults sometimes don't grasp, is if you don't give youth something to do positively, they'll find something to do. And so with all this crime, you may be thinking, hey, what's a police chief got to do except to kind of hang around and do other things? And I can assure you that our chief is not just hanging around and doing nothing. Well, maybe for one day he was. So our chief took part in a fundraiser challenge to the youth at Zanewood and said that he would get duct taped to a wall if they raised a bunch of money. And so for one day, the chief was hanging around. And I think this image is probably, the patrol officers probably think this is how he does every day, but I can assure you it just happened once. But with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone and try to be aware of your time so we can get you out of here on time. So thank you again, and I'll be around for questions. I actually teach at 1 o'clock, so I will bail, and no offense to my other mayors if I leave right in the middle of your presentation. Thank you.